Pearson has fresh perspective after tough time away from football. Two Buddha quotes hang on the wall of Nigel Pearson's office at Bristol City's training ground. A bonsai tree sits on a table beside a grey sofa. One of the sayings etched on a piece of slate catches the attention. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's about the importance of letting things go, says Pearson. If you just hold on to that bitterness, the only person that's going to damage is you. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous. He's learned this over the years, through his experiences and his mistakes. In the past, perhaps, he was less capable of doing it. Pearson does not yet exude the kind of Zen-like tranquility that you expect him, surrounded by bonsais and Buddhism, to sit cross-legged in yoga pants, but you cannot help but sense a more relaxed outlook on life. And much has happened in the last 2 years that Pearson could be forgiven of struggling to relinquish. It's just over a year since Pearson was sacked by Watford with just 2 Premier League games to go, having taken them from bottom of the table to within spitting distance of survival. His mum died after a sudden fall that January. He also contracted COVID-19, the effects of which were so extensive and lasting that he now suffers from rheumatoid arthritis and, at one stage, was so short of energy that he was unable to get out of bed. I think it makes you question your mortality and puts things into perspective, says Pearson. He's better now. He still has flare-ups, and he's struggling with his shoulder as we speak, but he is, as he puts it, back in work mode at Bristol and ready to do what he does best, build a team, and, to do that, to build a culture. It's what he's best at. It's what he did at Leicester, building the foundations on which Claudio Ranieri's side won the Premier League. Pearson took over at Bristol City in February, and, after a few early wins, the results at the end of the season were not great. No wins in their last 10. 7 defeats. Not great? They were crap. They were bloody awful. Yet still he felt there was potential. The club's billionaire owner Stephen Lansdowne and his son, the chairman, John Lansdowne, have invested heavily in the infrastructure. They believe in Pearson too, and the 57-year-old signed a 3-year contract in the summer. We're sitting inside the stunning multi-million-pound high-performance center, which opened in March. It boasts an anti-gravity recovery booth, gym, cryotherapy chambers, floodlit pitches. It's a sign of where they want the club to go. The last time Bristol City were in the top flight was 1980. That's the aim, says Pearson, ahead of the championship season getting underway on Friday. We want to get into the Premier League, but that doesn't happen overnight, says Pearson. It's not necessarily going to be an easy job, but I think it's possible, and I'd like to be a part of it. But it's going to take a hell of a rebuild. After a defeat to Coventry last season, Pearson made it clear there were too many individuals with very low personal motivation. That, for anyone who knows Pearson, or has followed his clubs, will never be good enough. He let 14 players go over the summer, a combination of expired contracts and players returning to their parent clubs. A host of players were out injured last season too. The culture here needed the change, he says. You walk around the building here and there has to be a feeling that people belong, have an opinion, have a voice. It's got to be a positive workplace. And I just felt there were different fractions in the dressing room, as there probably were in the staff as well. If people are pulling in different directions, and we did have elements of that, all it can do is create cracks for the weaker-minded people who want an excuse to find an excuse. That's not conducive to succeeding. That's a blame culture, which is very difficult just to survive in, never mind succeeding. To help do that, he's brought in people he knows, people he trusts. There's a bit of a Leicester reunion going on. He's re-signed Annie Simpson and brought in Matty James and Andy King. All 3 were with him at Leicester, all 3 know what it takes to succeed. He's hired Dave Rennie, his former physio at Leicester, as well as bringing his ex-Middlesbrough teammate Curtis Fleming onto the coaching staff. On top of that, Pearson has signed Rob Atkinson from Oxford United. Defender Nathan Baker has signed a new contract. Pearson doesn't think there will be more signings unless a player is sold to fund it. But he's happy with a smaller, tighter squad. Pearson wants them to drive their own culture. An A4 piece of paper sticks to the door of the dressing room that lists the team fines. It's £25 if a player leaves his locker in a mess or goes into the shower without wearing flip-flops. Phone goes off in a meeting, double it. All the way up to a £1,000 for missing the Christmas party without good reason. Yet printed at the bottom in capital letters is one overarching caveat: the gaffer reserves the right to fine anyone, any sum, at his discretion. It's clear who's in charge. Pearson has still found time to discover his place to escape with nature. He does wherever he is. This time, it's the Mendip Hills, a range of limestone hills to the south of Bristol and Bath. He's been a few times, uncovered some cycle routes. At his new house in Bristol, he's still waiting for his satellite television and Wi-Fi to be installed, so he's been stuck watching Sherlock Holmes DVDs. Pearson took his players on a camp to Loughborough University last month, which included a walk up Beacon Hill, one of the highest points in Leicestershire with stunning views of the county. They played cricket, though Pearson's shoulder ruled him out of action. He loves his cricket. He's seen a bit of the 100. I don't mind it, to be fair. I am still a purist, I love Test cricket. I just think a way of getting people to watch it cricket is a good thing. Pearson continues, as ever, to surprise. At one point during the interview, he gets out his phone and shows a picture that he sent to his friend and former colleague Craig Shakespeare after a recent night out. It shows Pearson stood pointing up at the sign for the Ostrich pub in Bristol, a reference to his infamous post-match rant at a journalist. He's keeping focused on letting things go. After the few years he has, can you blame him? Pearson also lost his sister-in-law to cancer a few weeks ago. Yet out of the darkness, a glinting light of the future has emerged. Pearson recently became a grandfather for the first time after his daughter Hannah gave birth to Isabella. He's not a grandad, though. He's a papa. My daughter always called me Pops, so it was a natural progression. Yeah, I'm Papa. It's brilliant. His smile spreads. Will that change him even more? It will probably make me into a bigger softie than I already am. Friday AFC Bournemouth vs West Bromwich Albion, 7:45 p.m, live on Sky Sports main event and Sky Sports Football Saturday 3 p.m, unless stated. Blackburn Rovers vs Swansea City, Bristol City vs Blackpool, Cardiff City vs Barnsley, Derby County vs Huddersfield Town, Luton Town vs Peterborough United, Preston North End vs Hull City, Queen's Park Rangers vs Millwall, Stoke City vs Reading, Sheffield United vs Birmingham City, 8 p.m, live on Sky Sports main event and Sky Sports Football Sunday. Fulham vs Middlesbrough, 1:30 p.m. Coventry City vs Nottingham Forest, 4:30 p.m, both live on Sky Sports main event and Sky Sports Football.